This a Patriots party. Hey, we put America first. This a Patriots party.
Donald
Hey.
J. Trump. It's an easy answer.
Abortion. These are real issues that we are dealing with.
Death started to throw a house party on Friday. Death threw a block party on Saturday. But early Sunday morning, love got out. I say this because I want you to understand.
I took my notes, and then that's what you need to know. I took my notes.
I'm not on the fence, I don't lean. I get a new hater every time my phone ring. I'm hated by the world, but that means that I'm blessed. I keep it real and I let God handle the rest.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Patriots Den podcast. We have a lot to cover. And today, I know we went kind of absent, right? We've been kind of absent, and I haven't been doing shows, but we're back now. And some announcements are going to make this full screen. Some announcements that I kind of want to make. But today's episode is going to be focusing a lot on the Black community. Today's episode is going to focus a lot on the Black community and a lot of the things that we are afraid to say, especially to the Black community, right? And it's something that I feel must be talked about, especially after the rapper Takeoff. Is that his Takeoff? He lost his life to senseless violence to the streets. And he was someone that a lot of the young African Americans looked up to, Hispanics looked up to, even young whites. So I really want to push and talk about the Black community. And I first want to start off with a quote. And the quote says this: "You can fool some people all the time. You can fool all the people some of the time." I'll say that again. You can fool some people all the time. You can fool all the people some of the time. The question is, are you some of the people that are fooled all the time? Or are you all the people who are only fooled some of the time? Thank you. I was muted on Instagram. I'm sorry. Right? You can fool some people all the time, or are you the person that you can fool all the time? Right? So that's what I'm going to help you break down today. Instagram, you haven't missed anything. I just started. I was talking to Facebook, so luckily I didn't see anything big yet. But we're going to be focusing strongly on the Black community. And one of the quotes that I started off with was, "You can fool some people all the time. You can fool all the people some of the time." And so the question that I'm asking is, are you some of the people who are fooled all the time? Or are you all the people who are only fooled some of the time? Let's get into it, right? So first, I want to start off with the big thing, and that is Black Lives Matter, right? Right now, as of November 2nd, 2022, at 6:34 p.m., I want to say that Black lives cannot matter, right, until they start to matter to the Black life. I'm going to say that one again. Black lives cannot matter until they start to matter to the Black life. As long as the Black life views the Black life less than, the Black life cannot matter to any other life, right? So what are you trying to say by that, Big Maga? What do you mean by that? great question. Let's take a look at the animal kingdom. Let's take a look at the animal kingdom. If you have a herd of buffalo, and those buffalo shun out and throw out one specific buffalo, and that buffalo is attacked and mauled by a group of lions, those buffalo are not going to care for that one buffalo. Why? Because that buffalo's life did not matter to the herd. If the black life shuns and throws out one another, then the black life cannot matter to one another. Watch me. Follow me here. Follow me here. Black lives won't matter to white people until it matters to black people. As long as you can shoot each other down in the streets in cold blood over a dice game and not bat an eye to that, you cannot be upset when the same thing happens, except that time it is white on black violence. You, sir, are a hypocrite. Because until the black man can stand up and say, I care about the other black man, that black man cannot stand up and say that I care about the white man hurting the black man, when he himself is the one doing the most damage. I want you to take a look at the white community for a second. Let's take a look at the white community for a second. If a white man kills a white man, they are going to hold that same white man on the same pedestal and hold that white man with the same accountability as they're going to hold that white man for anything else. The black community, on the other hand, instead of shunning things like that, they think it's fun and funny, and they go out and they make it in the music. They put it in the entertainment. Appreciate you, Callan. Appreciate you, Callan. He's complimenting the suit tonight. I wanted to go with the all blue. But when we continue to excuse violence and make it seem as if it's some kind of game or if it's some kind of joke, and you continue to put it in your entertainment, you continue to put it in your music, you continue to put this on a pedestal unlike any other, back to the quote, you can fool some people all the time with that. You can fool them all the time with that nonsense. But you can only fool all the people some of the time. And right now, all the people are fooled. Right now, all the people are fooled because at the same time, you're listening to this music of talking about one to the head and I got 9 in the chamber, yada, yada, yada. But the moment a black life is lost, everyone wants to say, oh no, senseless violence. What caused it? I've been saying the same thing all the time. You cannot be pro-black. You cannot support the black community. You cannot say that you're an ally. You cannot say that you're anti-violence while at the same time listening to people like the Migos, Kodak Black, and all these. Listening to this gangster rap. You cannot consider yourself pro any of that as long as you listen to gangster rap. Because why? Gangster rap is literally built on the backs of this violence. So the moment a black life starts to matter to a black life, that is when I will gladly be able to say black lives do matter. But right now, I cannot confidently say that black lives matter because the statement in itself just is not true to the black community. Well, now you're asking, so how do we make that true? I'm glad you asked. I am so glad you asked. I want you to take a look at the rap music. There is songs that list names of people and how they're killed. Right? That's in the music. And my generation, unfortunately, is the main generation that doing the TikTok dances to it, and they're engaging in it and comparing it to themselves. And you must now ask yourself, why is it that this music is so influential? And I know I'm going to have that. There's always going to be that one person that says, oh, no, it's about how the person is raised. I want to stop you right there. Let's look at the average black home. Let's look at the average black home. The average black home does not have a father in the home. The average black home does not have a mother in the home. The average Black home has some discrepancy within the parenting, whether the father is away, which means the mother has to work all the time, or they're in a bad environment. Both parents are strung out on who knows who, right? So now you have a child who does not have guidance in the home. So what can this child do when they don't have guidance in the home? Just like with anything in nature, it then goes and it looks for a mother. It then goes and it looks for a father. And who becomes the mother and father in these situations? The rap artist. They then make Jay-Z their mother and father. They then make the Migos their father. They then go and they make Future their father. They go and make Cardi B their mother. They go and they make all these high-list celebrities that couldn't give any worth about them. They make them their parents, and that's who they start to look up to. They see how they're acting. They see how they portray themselves. They see what they're saying in their music, and that's how they start to act in reality. Which is why the Black life still does not matter to the Black man, because of look who's raising them. When you let the entertainment business, it's the media and society raise the child will be no good. When you have a child who calls himself raised by the streets, where do they normally end up? Right? Where do they normally end up? Then you have the ones who were raised by the streets that are significant in this society. They're the rappers. They're the ones that they're looking up to. You had people look up to Takeoff. Look up to what was the guy's name that he was with? I don't know. They look up to them. And you look, okay, well, what do? Oh, they were the one, they shoot dice. They gangbang. They do this. They do that. Well, maybe that's what I need to do. And they start tying themselves up into that type of society. And then you have people who have the audacity to run around here and say, oh no, they were fine. They're fine. The music industry isn't doing it. It absolutely is. It absolutely is. Why? Because when you turn an artist into your father, you fall far from God. It's the truth. When they start relying on the media to be the one that's raising them, how can they grow? How can they learn? How can they be successful in that? They can't. They can't. If you don't have a mother or a father in the home raising them, someone else is raising them. And that someone is either that proficient rapper that died, that was shot down in cold blood, or it's the man on the corner. It's the truth. You have all the rappers running around here doing the drugs, so guess what? I'm going to do the drugs. If they do it, I want to do it. So now you look around, and majority of this generation, most of them strung out on weed. Can't think straight, can't function straight, can't go 8 hours without it. Because they were raised in a poisoned society without the guidance. And I was listening to Dr. Umar Johnson right before I got on here, and he said the Black community is the only community where the elders lead from the front instead of counseling and advising from the back. The Black community is the only community where the elders guide and lead from the front instead of counseling and advising from the back. Well, what do you mean by that? Oh, I'm going to break it down for you. When you look at the Black home, who was the one who set the foundations of that home? Most likely the grandparents. And a lot of people, they're raised by their grandparents still to this day. The mother is still being raised by the grandparent. Meanwhile, they have grandchildren and the generation has gone down the line, but yet they're all still being raised by the grandparent. And then you have the youngest one, the newest generation that said, well, the way you're raising and the way you're teaching, that's old. That is the days of old. I want to fit in with the crowd. And so now there's this generational gap, an entire generational gap. That generation is now being replaced by the Cardi B's, the Nicki Minaj's, the Migos, the Drakes. What are some of the other new artists that are out? They're being the 21 set. They're the ones replacing that generational gap. But when you look at what they're teaching is not what needs to be taught. They could do a great job at telling you what not to do, but they're doing a horrible job at telling you what to do. And so when you look at them, guess who jumped on the ball? The Democratic Party jumped on the ball, of course. So now the Democrats say, well, we're going to go to these rappers who talk about killing each other in the streets and selling drugs to their own community in order to get out of their community. Let's go to those. And let's have them tell you to vote for us. So Stacey Abrams, Joe Biden, all of them, they go down to the Migos and Cardi B and Quavo and Drake, and they say, hey, you come on with us, you send out this endorsement, and we got them. So guess what? Quavo and Drake and all of them, they get done destroying the black community with their rhetoric of music. They go, they endorse the Democrat and go back on into their business, and then the average black voter goes and votes for them. Why? Because that's what Beyonce told me to do. That's what Cardi B told me to do. That's what Quavo told me to do. That's what they told me. They told me to go vote Democrat. So guess what I did? I went and voted Democrat because that's what he said. Why? Because I filled that generational gap up with them and made the artist my father. I've made the artist my mother. Instead of using my own brain with the capacity that it has, I went and listened to them. And then, where did that get you? Right? Where did that get the black community? Listening to them. Right? Because they have made their money by short selling the black community. They have made their money by poisoning the black community. They have made their fame and fortune by inserting a deadly, dangerous rhetoric, a deadly, dangerous belief into the system. And as long as we continue to allow that dangerous, deadly rhetoric to infiltrate into this community, we, the people, will never be free. As long as the black community is okay with them making songs about sending drugs into the black community in order for them to leave the black community, the black life will never matter to the black life. As long as we continue to be okay with them making songs about killing each other in the street, the black life will never matter to the black life. As long as we are okay with one another dying in cold blood in the street to their own brother, the black life will never matter to the black life. But the moment we say that this is a void that we don't want to go in, as long as we say that this is a hole, this is a trap that we do not want to be sucked into, as long as we start to stand on some kind of moral foundation, some kind of moral belief, we just may be okay. Maybe. But in order to do that, we have to build a backbone. You have to build a moral in a foundation. Right? As long as we continue to listen to this white push, this white rhetoric, this white man belief, we will never be free. As long as we continue to allow, I'm not going to say who, but I want you to think for a minute. Who has Kanye and Kyrie Irving been talking about? As long as we allow them to continue to control the stuff that is being pushed in our community, we will never be free. Because the same one who owns that are the same ones who own the ships that went to Africa, that brought us here. So as long as we continue putting ourselves in a bubble, a trap to allow them to make the rappers, make the artists, make music about inserting the drugs, inserting the violence, inserting the premarital sex, as long as we allow them to continue pushing that rhetoric into the community of the African American's life will never matter to the African American, and the African American will never be free. But the moment we can stand up and say we want to start owning our own stuff, the moment we can stand up and say, you know what, it's time out for the culture. It's time for the culture to change. The moment we can say it's time that we tell these rappers and rap artists that no, we don't want you to rap about sending drugs to the community, hurting the community more than it's already hurt. We want you to talk about something uplifting, something more positive. We don't want you talking about how many people you've slept with around the block. We don't want you talking about how you spent the block and killed so-and-so. Talk about something uplifting. Talk about something that can raise the standard of the community. Because right now, the Black community has a standard that is set very low. In the average African-American home, it is just an accomplishment to graduate high school and not go to college. But I can guarantee you, if I ask anybody who is white, they expect, well, you don't have to go to college, but you at least got to go to trade school. You at least got to do something. But no, they are okay with saying you did the bare minimum, right? Because nowadays, everything seems to be a participation trophy. Nowadays, everyone seems to be okay with just getting by, right? But the moment the Black community can say, well, we're looking at the white community, we're looking at the Hispanic community, we're looking at the Asian community, we're looking at the Indian community, we're looking at all these communities. And yet somehow, some way, they're the ones doing better. Why? Because there's been a bare minimum set. That's why. There's been a bare minimum set, and all we can do is stand back and say, how do we beat that bare minimum? I've given you everything. I've given you everything you need to know on how to beat that bare minimum. Now is the question is, when do we start to implement it? When do we start to implement that? When do we stand up to the culture? When do we stand up to the oppressor, right? And the oppressor is not who they think it is. When do you do that? When do you do that? We'll be right back. We will be right back.
This is Patriots party. Hey, we put America first. This is Patriots party.
Donald J. Trump. It's an easy answer.
Abortion. These are real issues that we are dealing with.
Dad started to throw a house party on Friday. Dad threw a block party all Saturday. But early Sunday morning, Mom got up. I say this because I want you to understand.
I took my notes, and then that's what you need to know. I took my notes.
I didn't want to be there, but I had to.
What you mean? You can follow the world, I'd rather follow the king. I'm not on the fence, I don't lean. I get a new hater every time my phone ring. I'm hated by the world, but that means that I'm blessed. I keep it real and I let
We're back. Listen, we stopped at the turning artist, and I kind of want to start to shift into where do the answers come in at. And I want to make a bet. Can we do that? I want to make a bet. November 8th is election day. Governors, senators, House representatives, state house, state senate, mayoral, city council, elections that matter are on the ballot November 8th. And I want to talk to two people right here. First, I want to talk to the Republicans. Republicans, on November 8th, you're going to see one of two things. You're going to see an America blinded by ignorance. Remember what I said in the beginning? You can fool some people all the time, and you can fool all the people all the time. November 8th, you're going to see one of two things. You're going to see either an America that doesn't want the Democrats in power. They want Republicans in power, just not in their state. So they're going to vote blue in their state, but hopefully everybody else votes red. That's one of the first things. Or two, you're going to see people vote on pure hatred of another candidate named Donald Trump. Simply because of their hatred towards that man, they're going to vote against whoever he endorses or whatever he stands for. And then we're going to see something come out of that. One, we'll see the red wave that everyone wants to talk about. Sure. Or two, we'll see what everyone thought was a red wave turn into a blue wave because everyone that wanted the red wave, they wanted the red wave. They just didn't want the red wave to happen in their state. Texas, for example. A whole lot of Republicans run around here saying red wave, but they're not voting for Greg Abbott. Instead, they're going to probably vote for Beto or write in a candidate, which is just giving a vote to Beto. Because of their hatred towards Greg Abbott, they are willing to throw away their freedoms, but hopefully America will secure the rest. That's not how politics work. You have to vote. If you want the red wave nationally, you got to vote here for that red wave where you are. That, or you have the other option. There will be that red wave, but it won't change much simply due to the fact that all of the red people that got in for red, they're going to simply do what they were told to do their entire political career. So what changes when Republicans win? What changes? Republicans were still voting to send money to Ukraine when the bills were coming to the House and the Senate. Republicans were still voting on a lot of these policies that were coming through. There was literally a tie, and you didn't hear much about Kamala Harris breaking ties about maybe 5 or 6 times. Because there's nothing that's going to change. Now I want to talk to the African American community. The Black community on November 8th is going to go out. They're going to vote blue. They're going to vote Democrat. And I'm going to ask one question. What changes? The Black community can vote Democrat down the ballot. The Black community can vote Republican down the ballot. The Black community can vote independent down the ballot. The Black community can vote 0 candidates down the ballot. Nothing changes in the Black community until the Black community changes the Black community. As long as the Black community continues to be okay with making the artists the fathers. Remember what I said. When the father is not in the home, or the mother is not in the home, or both parents are in the home but doing their own thing, that child has to look up to something, and they're looking up to the Cardi B's and the Nicki Minaj's, and they're making these artists their parent figures in their lives. As long as that's happening, as long as they're looking up to the WAP and this gangster rap sending drugs into their own community simply so they can get out and killing each other in cold blood in the street, as long as that's happening in the black community, the black community will not change. As long as the black life doesn't matter to the black life won't matter to anyone. So as of right now, I cannot proudly say Black Lives Matter, knowing that the black life doesn't even matter to the black life. Because the same outrage we gave to George Floyd is the exact same outrage we need to give to the gang violence happening into Chicago. The same outrage we gave to people like Trayvon Martin, it's the same outrage that we need to give to the people that are putting drugs in the black community, causing these irradical motions and decisions that are happening in the black community. The same outrage the black community had to get Donald Trump out of office should be the exact same outrage they should have towards getting gangs out of black environments and black communities. As long as the same outrage that the black community gave to Charlottesville, it's the same outrage the black community needs to give to the black abortions happening, killing more African Americans than any other race. The same outrage that Black Lives Matter gives to white on black violence is the exact same outrage Black Lives Matter needs to give to black on black violence. Until black on black violence is not addressed, talked about, and thrown away with, the black life will not matter. Because one, population-wise, it won't gain. and two, if you don't care for you, why should they care for you? That's the question they're asking. That's the question that they want to know. So until we can admit that the black community has a black community issue, and that right now we can't really blame anybody besides us. And I know people are going to say, well, there's systemic racism. Systemic racism doesn't make the black man pull the trigger on the black man. The system can't make you do that. Systemic racism cannot make the black man talk about killing the black man in a song. Systemic racism cannot make the black woman make herself a sexual object in a song just for the views and likes of it. Systemic racism can't do that. And if you give something the power over you to make these radical, dangerous decisions that not only hurt you, but also hurt your community, then maybe there's something else going on. Not within the system, but within you, that you give something else that kind of power over you instead of taking back that power of which you hold. That's the problem, and that's the issue that we're talking here. But nobody is willing to address that. So when do we address it? When do we make it clear and plain and put it out in the open for people to understand? When do we make it a statement? When do we make it our number one priority to do that? Right? And I don't want Republicans saying, well, if you vote Republican, no. Because Joe Biden cannot stop you from pulling the trigger. Donald Trump cannot stop you from pulling the trigger. The biggest independent, Andrew Yang, cannot stop you from pulling. It's not a political party issue. It's a community culture issue. And until the culture doesn't change, the politics can stay the same. Poverty, and sure. But until the culture changes, you will continue to have situations like what happened in Houston with Takeoff. And there's Aiden on here. I wonder. I really want to get him on here either tonight or later on, because I feel like he could expound on this and take this in directions that I'm missing, because he says it all the time. I'm not in tune with everything in the Black community, so there's words and ideas that I want to say. I can't do it. He probably can. So I definitely recommend you give him a follow. I wish he'd do more politics on his page than he does. But when you have people like him, who's younger than me, by the way, yeah, he's in tune, but he also can admit to the problems that the Black community faces. But we got to address them first, and no one is addressing. The way Takeoff died was a senseless, unneeded act of violence caused by what society has created. Dice. Playing a game of dice. Now you have the Jackson State University. Can't go anywhere. I'm talking not about someone, but about just the Black community in general. The Black community in general, until they can make those changes, until they can, make those changes of changing the culture, then we ourselves will never be free. And when you look at other cultures, they try to jump board with the Black community. The Black community is seen as if everybody wants to be in the Black community. Everyone wants to be Black until it's time to be Black. For example, the if you look at the gay man acts like the ghetto Black woman. I'm touching a subject here now. I gotta can't stand this thing too long. But if roles were reversed, y'all see what I'm saying, right? Y'all are seeing the surface that I'm touching. The Black community was quick, very quick, to jump with the anti-Asian hate, stop the Asian hate. But now that the roles are reversed, the Asian community is in the Supreme Court right now fighting to overturn affirmative action in colleges. I'm in this thing. I gotta get out of it real quick. The Black community has its allies when the allies need something. But the moment the Black community needs the truth, they're afraid to say it. Why? Because they know that if these things did change, the Black community would no longer be a weapon that they can use. Why? Because they would soon realize that what's being talked about, what's being delivered, what's being conversed is wrong. It's wrong. Why is it that the LGBT struggle wants to combine with the Black struggle? Why is it that the Asian struggle wanted to combine with the Black struggle? Because they know that the Black community has all the ingredients to be successful, but they don't know how to make the cake. They got the eggs, they got the flour, they got the sugar, they got the sprinkles and the icing, they got everything, but they don't know how to make the cake. So these other communities, they come in and they get bits and pieces of these ingredients, and then they run back and they make their own cake. And once they're nice and happy, you never hear from them again. Meanwhile, the Black community still doesn't know how to make their cake. Y'all get that reference on the way home or wherever you go. On your way to bed, I don't know. But I'm gonna leave it there. until the black community can make its own cake, we are stuck. I wanna hold on. Let me see. I want to see something here real quick. I want to test something here real quick, and let me just see if I can do it. I want to see if somebody can come on here. If not, we'll probably just wrap this thing up. But I want to see if Aiden can come on. Hold on. I like to test the waters sometimes, right? Because I want people to understand what I'm saying. I'm just gonna try to see if I can get him to understand what I'm saying. We'll see here. Because I have to, again, when you're talking about a topic like this, you want to be able to be able to dip and dive into both sides of the aisle. You want to be able to dip and dive into both sides of the aisle and get that truth. And if you can't do that, then you're stuck. Paul, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Trying to get this message out. Because we have the materials. And it's not I can't say that it's not a political party issue. It's not. It's a cultural issue. You have to change the culture, because no matter who's president, they can't change the culture of it. So as long as the culture continues to be the same, nothing changes. Right? Nothing changes. So again, it all goes back to what I was saying in the first. I'm gonna tackle each topic here for a minute, and then we're gonna get out of here. It all goes back to what I'm saying. Until we can address the music industry that is turning the artists into the fathers and the mothers in the community because of so many absences, the black life will never matter to anyone, because it must matter to the black life. And so I must now leave. I gotta go, but I want to leave you with this. It says you can fool some people all the time. You can fool all the people some of the time. So my question is, which one are you going to be? Are you going to be some of the people who are fooled all the time? Or are you going to be all the people who are only fooled some of the time? I'm going to leave it there. It was a great show. It was truly a great show. And we didn't go the whole hour. We started late as well, but it's okay. It was truly a great show. We got to change the culture. We're going to start attacking the culture, especially here on the Patriots Den. We're going to start attacking the culture of things, not the political side of things. And I think that's the problem. Too many people want to attack the political side without realizing that you must first change the culture, because until the culture changes, nothing else will change. It's been great talking to you all. Instagram, I love you. Facebook, YouTube, and all the other places, Twitch, love you all. It's been a great time. Texas Independent is signing